Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Ark Nova from Capstone Games. Ark Nova is currently the 4th highest game on Board Game Geek, the 4th highest rated game on Board Game Geek, which is insane. It's a testament to how well this game has been appreciated, received, how well it's liked and rated and all those things. And I'll be diving into my own thoughts and opinions on the game. I might be a little lighter on the rules. I don't want to spend, well, 2 reasons. First of all, there's a lot of technical stuff to get into, and also this game is generally well known. I'll be going through a general overview, how it plays, my own thoughts on it, and I've been playing this game for a long time. I've been playing the game since it first came out, but I didn't feel comfortable reviewing it right away because I kept having, you know what, let's get into all this stuff later on in this video as we get into actual thoughts and opinions and all that. Let's start with what Ark Nova is. And Ark Nova is a tableau building game. It's a card-driven engine. You're going to be building out, you're going to be gathering various cards. There's going to be a whole giant deck of cards over here. You're going to have a bunch of cards in the card row. You're going to have this incredibly large deck of cards over here, which is, this is the unsleeved size of it. It's going to get even larger otherwise. And you're going to be trying to utilize those cards for a variety of purposes. But one of the most common ones is by putting animals into your zoo. Each player has their own individual zoo boards, and you could go ahead and have the same zoo board, or you can have asymmetric zoo boards with little powers or changes to them, and you're going to be trying to place animals down into your zoo by going ahead and utilizing these cards over here. Cards will do a variety of things. Like I said, one of the most common ones is going to be animals into your zoo. And to that end, you're going to look over here at any individual card, and you're going to see the size of the exhibit the animal needs, the cost that animal is going to take, the tags it's going to give you, any abilities, and then over here, this addition to your zoo. And you have different things. So this one needs to be placed next to a section of mountains on your zoo board. Over here we have this one, which will require having that tag, and you can get that tag either by having another animal. So for example, this animal can be played. Once that played, you'll have that tag. You can also go ahead and get one of these partners over here and take this and put it on your board, and now you have that tag as well. So there's a variety of ways to get what you need done in the game. But general idea, you have these cards, these various zoo animals over here, you're placing them down into your zoo, and that's going to help you move up on the tracks, which is 2 tracks, we'll get into that shortly. But the main idea on your turn is you choose an action. You're going to choose one of these 5 actions over here on your own little section over here. You'll take that action, you'll do the action at the current strength of the action, and then you'll slide everything over and reset that action strength to 1, which effectively means that to a certain extent, as long as you're willing to let all the actions climb, you can always take an action at strength 5, take an action strength 5, cycle it down, have things move up. And in a perfect world, you'll have your sequence built in a way that is always optimized. In more practical reality, that won't always be the case. Practically speaking, you're going to be making regular choices about which actions are right for you at any given time, or possibly spending these little X tokens to advance the strength of an action so you can still get a strength 5 action, or something even higher, strength 6, strength 7, while being able to utilize a card wherever it is. But this puzzle of the cards is going to be the main game that you're trying to play. How to take the actions at the right time, what combinations of cards are you going to utilize, and how do you make sure you cross the 2 tracks on the board properly. You see, game end is triggered when you cross yourself on these tracks. You have 2 markers for the different metrics of your zoo, and one's going to be moving up these little green spots as you go, and then going further along as it crosses this way, and this one's moving this way, moving up the track, and eventually when your markers cross each other, that will trigger endgame, and it'll also define your score relative to the other players of what gap you have between your 2 markers as they cross themselves on the track. Now the 5 actions of the game, let's go through those 5 actions basically, talk about a few more things, and then from there we'll dive into my thoughts and opinions. But the 5 core actions you have in the game, over here we have cards. This simply lets you take cards. Again, based on the strength of the action, you can either take cards from wherever your markers are over here, and I'm actually missing a marker, which we'll put out over here, I guess, just drop that over there. But you're going to be able to take cards from wherever your token is on the board, or alternatively drawing from the top of the deck. So you either have some degree of sight, of visibility, drawing the right card, but it takes time to build up the range from where you can draw your cards from, or you just draw cards from the deck, which will often give you more, and often give you the right cards, because you won't always, until you move up in this track, you'll have very little agency over this section board over here, this middle of the board. The next action over here is let you playing animal cards. And this is going to let you play cards to your board, but before we do that, let's focus on the build. When you build over here, you can build one building with a maximum size of X, which X is the strength. That's where the strength of the card comes into play. You can build that one building anywhere on your board, giving yourself that strength 5 exhibit that you need to be able to go ahead and then place an animal into it later. And this over here, this exhibit, whenever you cover things on the board, you'll get the various benefits or perks from whatever you cover. You now have an animal exhibit to be able to place your animal into, and now when you place that level 5 animal, it can go into that exhibit when you use the animal card to play either 1 or 2 animals. Once you get to 5, you can play 2 animals, otherwise you're playing only 1 animal with that card. So again, we let you draw cards, you can build exhibits, you can play animals into your exhibits. The other two actions are going to be association tasks. That's going to be, this association task is going to be this little board over here, where you have 5 different options over here for things you can do on this board. And this one over here, you need an upgraded card, which we haven't really talked about yet. But over here, you'll have different options for you being able to increase your track over here, then increase that track on this board over here. You'll also have, which these should be on the other side over there. You'll also have over here these little partner zoos over here. You can get partner zoos, putting them down over here, partnerships, putting them there. You're going to also have these, which you can place down over here, again, giving you various benefits. And then these will let you place onto these cards over here, which is going to be a big way that you're moving up these green spots on the board, where you can go ahead and show that you've done something over here. So for example, maybe you require 5, 4, or 2 predator icons in your zoo, and once you have predators, you can go ahead and take that action over here, utilizing your person, where is my person over here, utilizing your person at a strength 5, and then taking one of your markers and saying, look, I've done this action over here, and I'm going to move up, where's my marker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots on that track. So that's going to be the actions you can take on this board over here. You will need one of these people, and you can only take 1 per cycle. This is starting to get into some technical details over here, but you start off with only 1 person. You can unlock more people, and there's a break cycle where you get things back in the game, where you potentially have to discard cards. I'm not going to focus too much on that. I want to keep this the general idea, not the intricate details. Then the last action is going to be sponsors. Sponsors over here, you can play a sponsor card with a maximum level of X from your hand, again, X being the strength, and then you can play, or alternatively, you can break X, gaining X, and again, the break track is the timer in the game, which is going to cycle those rounds for you, and then you can either get money and advance the break token, or you can play a sponsor. And do we have any sponsors in my hand? We don't, so I can show you a sponsor on the board. Sponsors generally are going to have a value over here, so if you can see a 3, 4, or 5, they're going to give you an immediate benefit and an end game benefit as well. So you can have different icons going on, different things it does for you. Each time a beer icon is played into the zoo, you can gain 2 over here, 2 appeal value, or you have to place this next to at least 1 water space. So you're going to get different things doing, and at the end of the game, depending on these sponsor cards that you play into the game. That's basically the idea of what's going on here. There's a bunch more things to get into. There's going to be upgrading cards. It's going to be a huge part of the game. These cards are double-sided, and there's 2 ways to play them. You can play them the basic way, or as you earn upgrades over here, the different upgrades you can earn in the game. As you earn those, over here we have another one, you're going to be able to flip these cards, and you can flip a maximum of 4 of them during the game. You will never have the ability to flip all 5, even doing all 4, and you may not, there are games you won't even do all 4, but you're going to choose which cards to upgrade to give you a greater strength of what those cards do. The building card is going to say, hey, you can build 1 building of a size X, whereas when you upgrade it, you can build multiple buildings that add up to X, giving you a lot more flexibility, especially for all those animals in your hand that require smaller buildings. You can be more efficient with your actions. Each of the cards is going to have an upgraded version that gives you something else to do, and there's other benefits as well. There's going to be other things you can do. Like I said, you can be unlocking additional people, which gives you more flexibility in this track. There's going to be instant benefits as well as ongoing benefits that you can unlock over here as you move up the track over there. So you're going to get different benefits over here as far as either one-time stronger benefits, you can take 12 money, or maybe you get 5 money right now, and every time there's a break cycle. So there's a lot of things going on in Ark Nova. There's a lot of things to think about as you try to think through the cards in your hand, which cards you want to gather, which tags are going to work you towards your goals. You're going to have these goals over here, these tasks over here. You're going to also be able to draw them from the deck themselves. So for example, over here, I actually think I even have one in my hand right now you can check a look at. So we have this primates over here. The primates, you can go ahead and release a primate into the wild. Depending on the strength of the exhibit takes, you'll get different points. And so you're trying to be mindful as you play these, what opportunities you have. Are you going to be the first one to get the most points to them? Are your opponents going to get them? There's a lot of things to consider, but that's to be a general high-level overview of Ark Nova. Again, there's a lot of things to get into that I'm not getting into all the details, trying to give you a general overview. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into my thoughts, my opinions, what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, all of that stuff, starting off with what I like. And the game has a lot of things that pull me in. Part of the reason I haven't reviewed this game until now is that when I first played Ark Nova, I played it again, every time I played it, I kept feeling like there was something for me that I wanted to explore further in the game. I wasn't comfortable with where my thoughts were, which the amount of times I've played this game easily 10 plus times by now, and it's one of those games that I usually don't take that much time to review a game, that many plays to review a game, because usually I have a good sense of where my opinion is after a few plays, but I kept wanting to see more from Ark Nova or feel exactly where it fit in for me. And make no mistake, 10 plays means I certainly enjoy this game enough, and we'll get more into that in final thoughts, but starting off with the things I like over here, the sheer variety of cards, again, a giant stack of cards, and the interactions of those cards, and the ways they all work with each other, the various goals you're going to be placing out, the various, the sponsors, the cards themselves, the way you build out your zoo, the variety of the zoo, the fact that you have different zoos, keeping that flexibility or that differences from game to game alive. There's a lot of different things going on in the game. The card cycle over here, how you manage your own personal cards, which ones you choose to upgrade, how they're going to work towards your engine, which cycle you try to use of getting the right card at strength 5 every single time, versus when you trade them in a little early because it's going to help you better in your engine, versus when you use those tokens to power up and boost the cards. There's a lot of ways to pursue these different strategies in the game. There's multiple ways to build out your zoo or to focus on which different things are going to give you points, trying to be mindful of the cards you have in hand, and those cards sometimes will be discarded. You have to be mindful of that. You have the cards that are on the table, the cards that are coming out, your general knowledge of the game. There's a lot of things to consider as you go through this, and they all give you tough decisions left, right, and center. Even the basic things is, do you take, 12 money right away? Is that going to be the most helpful? Do you take this extra person so you can start doing 2 of these a cycle or not? Or do you immediately want to start getting one of these every single time there's a break round, and then start pursuing those break rounds by upgrading this task over here and starting to pursue your, getting extra money and pushing those break tokens further so the rounds are shorter as you go. There's a lot of things you can do as far as the way those all combine, and each of these cards, these animals cards in the game, all give you different little abilities on them, and that's again a ton of information to think about how these are going to work for the engine, what they're going to do, how things are going to combine. These sponsors, they're a big deal as far as getting a few early game sponsors and then trying to build around them can give you a very satisfying engine when you build out a little a bird themed zoo that really helps and rewards you for building out a bunch of bird cards. Immediately upgrade your building cards so you can start building those smaller exhibits, because most of the birds will either require the specific birdhouse or require smaller exhibits, and start leaning into those strategies as you play through it. There's just a lot of things that you can do differently every single time you play this, and the sheer variety of cards, the sheer stack of cards, means no 2 games of Ark Nova will ever play out even remotely the same. You'll be striving towards certain cohesive things that work together, but how those play out will be different every single time, and your starting cards, as well as even the starting goals, as well as the cards in the middle of the table, will all define differently how Ark Nova is for you each time you play it. As far as things I don't like in the game, I don't feel the payoff of large plays. One of the things that I don't love about Ark Nova is no matter how many times I've played this game, I've never really gotten the sense of, look at these, cascading plays, or look at these things I've done that are these stronger, larger moves. Everything works, everything comes together, but I don't really have the strong sense of that really strong card that really helps me out, that thing that all work together. Even those bird-themed zoos I've talked about, maybe it's just the way the games have played out for me, but I've never really gotten my engines to work together in a way that I just feel strong and powerful and things are coming together perfectly. There's ways to chase extra points. There's ways to try to find those optimizations, but I've never gotten that sense of, wow, this card really makes or breaks my engine. This animal, that tiger is going to fit perfectly into my zoo. It's all going to work or come together for me. It feels like there's too much information, but not a lot of it is cool. I mean, the amount of text you have on cards is a lot of text, and the iconography is another thing. I mean, I'm 10 plus plays in, like I said, and I find often, even card, like I'll pull up a card like this, and I'll have to completely relearn exactly what this card does, because the iconography is overwhelming, confusing, not intuitive, text heavy. I find there's a lot of things that kind of take me a little bit out of the experience of the simplicity of what everything is trying to do, and it feels like the game is way too dependent on what you top deck into your engine. Because more often than not, and again, this could be a me thing, make no mistake, I started this review by saying this is the number 4 rated game on BGG, and my personal opinion is not going to align with that. So maybe it's a me thing, I don't know, but for me, when I've played this game, I find that I don't get the sheer agency of getting the right cards. When I play a game like Terraforming Mars, and I'm going to not be comparing this to Terraforming Mars throughout this video, but when I play a game like Terraforming Mars, the ability to get the right cards that fit into my engine, I feel that always happens one way or another as I go through the game. And with Ark Nova, I feel like this pure luck as to whether I draw a few cards that work for me. More often than not, I'm constantly trying to cycle cards to get the right ones that will work perfectly into my engine, that will make everything come together, and I don't. I find I'm playing a whole bunch of cards that feel like disparate parts of my zoo, and occasionally I get to go ahead and play that one bird that I've been trying to build up towards. I feel like there's a lot of luck in that top decking element. There's a lot of luck in terms of being able to draw from the top of the deck what cards help for you, because more often than not, that middle row feels more stagnant for me when I've played through the game. It doesn't move as quickly as I would like, and doesn't give me the cards that I would like. I very rarely find myself pulling from the middle row, just the sheer amount of cards there are, and whether those cards are cycling in or out. So for me, it feels like there is a lot of happenstance as to whether the cards work for you or when they work for you. As far as I can see, others not liking, first of all, this is very much multiplayer solitaire. You are building out your own engine, you're trying to do what you can, and there is a minimal degree of interaction. Primarily, I mean, again, a drop of fighting over the cards in the middle, perhaps I haven't really experienced that much. I would say more so over fighting over these cards. There's definitely a mindfulness of, hey, you're working towards your predator icons, I want to get there first. That's kind of the extent of the interaction I feel in this game. The rest of it, and again, maybe there's a few cards, like there's a few things you can do that are negative towards your opponents, but not a lot of interaction going on. Doesn't bother me. I don't mind multiplayer solitaire, but if you don't like that in your Euros, this is a game that's definitely very much multiplayer solitaire. And then the game runtime is another factor. You want to be mindful of the fact that, especially at higher player counts, this can drag as far as the game time. I don't think it's that far outside the bounds of what you're looking for. It also depends on the experience you're getting out of this, but I think if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, this can easily cross that 3-hour mark, unless you're playing with people who are snappy as far as what they do and how quickly they take their turns. As far as final thoughts on Ark Nova, I'm very conflicted on, well, a variety of things. I know where my opinion of the game is, for me. I'm done with Ark Nova. I've played it plenty of times. I've kept exploring it, trying to find that extra level. When it first came out, it was often compared to Terraforming Mars. Even now, there's elements of similarity, and I understand why those comparisons exist. They feel very different to me, but I definitely understand the relative structure that they have together. And as a huge fan of Terraforming Mars, that made me very interested in this game. And then watching it climb through the ranks, continuously going higher and higher, and seeing the sheer amount of praise this game gets, made me think that, okay, well, I have to keep exploring. I have to see what it is that I'm not getting out of the experience. And I've enjoyed it the whole way through. A game doesn't get 10 plays from me without me enjoying it to some extent, but I never crossed that magical threshold. It never got to a point where I was like, that's what it is, but it always felt like it was on the cusp for me. It always felt like maybe another play or two and I'll start seeing those combinations and the engine will start coming together in a way that I feel other games do give me that feeling, and I don't get it here. And so I'm confident of where I am in this because I've given it that shot. I've given it that chance. For me, rating-wise, and this is a little bit of a picking apart or explaining the rating on this one, but for me, the rating on this game would have been a 3.5 out of 5. Where it currently is for me right now, it's a 3. And that's, again, a little explaining on that one. Short version is my ratings often reflect my desire to play. There's a big factor in there. But I've gone through that with Ark Nova. I've gone through my journey with it, and I'm kind of done with it. I've given it the chance. I've kept on pushing to find that little extra spark of magic, and I haven't found that. But in the process of doing so, that did make my rating go down half a point. I'm not losing any sleep if I never play this game again, because I really feel like I gave it a fair shot. But again, had I rated it when I normally would have rated a game after 4 or 5 plays, I would have given it a 3.5 easily. So for me, it would have been a 3.5. Currently, it's already dropped. Just the process of, the gap from when I first played this to where we are now is, I think, nearly 2 years at this point, because I kept holding out that it would climb, and instead, part of that process, to a certain extent, made it drop for me. I think this is clearly a fantastic game. I don't think a game makes it to be number 4 on Board Game Geek without it clearly having an audience, without it clearly doing well. But fantastic games are always in the eye of the beholder. And for me, as much as I appreciate what Ark Nova is doing, I've never felt that magic spark. I've enjoyed it. I think it's really well done. But there are many other games that do this kind of thing that have resonated with me. And with Ark Nova, I kept feeling like that magical moment was just out of reach. Still good, still enjoyable, still had a fun time, but the magical moment has always been just a drop out of reach for me. So currently a 3 out of 5 for me. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, if you're looking for something that has the flavor and feel of Ark Nova, but with a much lighter gameplay, a shorter playtime, much more accessible, highly recommend taking a look at Earth. Earth from Inside Up Games, to me, gives me a very similar feeling, but it's much easier to table, it's more accessible, I see the patterns more clearly, and I find that I feel more satisfied by the gameplay experience when I go through it. And if you're looking for something that's a little meatier, that falls into that more engine building aspect of what Ark Nova is going for, I think Terraforming Mars is a fair comparison. There are lots of differences between the two games, but I think there are reasons to believe that if you like one, you might find something similar to like about the other. So Earth and Terraforming Mars are going to be my recommendations. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.